8 years ago, Sharon Bugwa experienced her first seizure after suffering a head injury. Going from one hospital to another, specialist to specialist, misdiagnosed with a heart condition, later traveling to India to see a neurologist and undergoing surgery. She was then diagnosed with epilepsy in 2018.
So basically what happened between 2016 to 2018, I had several seizures, and those would be, you collapse. And different ranges. The initial ones were, like I was saying, really strong, because when you collapse, you're foaming at the mouth, your eyes have rolled back. And then I believe it was because of medication, then, the severity reduced. But you see, it would still happen. And then I go for medical tests and it's clear. And by that time, I don't know why that is happening. It was actually quite frustrating at the time. So I got my diagnosis in 2018 that I had epilepsy.
She says support groups, medication and staying away from triggers have helped her manage living with epilepsy despite stigma being a major challenge.
It's so interesting. There's somebody who we're in the same chat group, and we got to talking, and he was telling me he started having his when he was younger. His mother actually took him to the police station. So she said, here, almost like deal with this problem. So he was actually in prison for like 2 or 3 days. So the policemen are like, okay, madam, please take your child. Again, the other thing you find is, professionals in the work environment, it becomes very difficult because even for myself, I'm not comfortable to self-disclose to the HR department because I genuinely don't know how they'll react.
With awareness levels being alarmingly low, she says the government can do more.
Epilepsy is one of the broader non-communicable diseases, which at the moment have very little funding from the Ministry of Health. So if we up that, then automatically anything under NCDs gets, more funding. As far as, like I was saying, if it's on the education part, just starting with the teachers and the parents, having simple to understand information about just the basics, have it in at least Kiswahili and English.
But tuko na tailoring center iko Githurai place inaitwa Mwihoko.
Diagnosed with epilepsy in 2011 while working as a pastry chef in Dubai, Fred Kiserem says after being in denial, not managing the attacks, he got into an accident that almost cost his arm, an incident that led him to advocate for the condition.
I used to develop seizures and convulsing, and a friend of mine told me that might be epilepsy, but I didn't know what is epilepsy, so I had to go back to the books and start reading what is epilepsy. Like myself, I didn't know, and doctors even didn't know how my epilepsy started.
Fearlessly advocating for epilepsy, Fred Beuchi in 2018 walked from Nairobi to Mombasa, creating awareness. This year, with a team of 10, he cycled from Nairobi to Arusha in Tanzania and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
It was very inspirational, it was emotional. You get there and you start crying for no reason. At some point I had get a glimpse of the most difficult places to hike within the whole journey. But there's no option of saying there's another different route to use. I also called my guide and I told him, I think by the time I get up there, I will just drop dead. So at some point he was telling me, you see the way you keep mentioning like you will die, this is altitude sickness. So we made our way all the way to Uhuru Peak. We were able to actually get there and flash out the flags to show support for epilepsy awareness in Africa. And we spent like 20 minutes or so because it was getting worse. The weather was getting worse and worse.
Having to take care of his sister with epilepsy at age of 2 due to cerebral malaria and getting to understand how to manage it when she turned 6, his passion was sparked and the journey to create awareness soon began. Door to door, businesses to businesses, the responses were strangely overwhelming.
So many of them had questions like, are you going to kweli inapona? And we had to really do a lot of explanation to tell them yes. Also, we could get to ask them what are the misconceptions that you guys have heard about epilepsy. Like mtu ameanguka na unamuuliza utamsaidia vipi, anasema leta kijiti, tunamweka kwa mdomo, so that they don't bite their tongue. Pouring water on them. Mwingine akasema the last time I saw a person like that, walichukua kiatu enye ilikuwa na harufu mbaya wakamweka kwa pua so that senses zirudi. So everybody had their own kind of story to tell, and that would always give us an opportunity now to start a conversation with them about what really epilepsy is.
In order to help a person during an epilepsy attack, these are the steps to take.
Number one, you should not give them, you should not put anything inside their mouth. Whether it's a piece of cloth, whether it's a stick, whether it's anything that so many people have been putting because of the fear that they might end up biting their tongue. Indeed, when a seizure is happening, because of the tightening of the muscles, they can either bite their lips or their tongue. But at the end of the day, that is just an injury that can be treated. The worst that can happen when you are there trying to put something inside their mouth and the muscles have tightened, you are not sure at what point the seizure will be over. And immediately the seizure is over, the muscles relax, and you are there trying to push something in their mouth. So it might end up also choking them and even causing death. The second thing that you should not do is do not restrain them while they are jerking. So jerking is the fitting. Do not restrain them. That's the only way a seizure can come out of the body. But if you call so many people to hold them and restrain them, it means all those shocks from the seizure end up in the muscles. So by the time the seizure is over, they are very weak. They cannot even stand by themselves and walk. So that's why we say do not restrain them. And finally, do not give them any drink or any food while they're in that seizure.
With a goal to reach 5 million people advocating for rights for epilepsy, demystifying myths around the condition, and coming up with materials with local indigenous African languages, and also aiming to raise funds, Beuchi says the target was met, although there's still a long way to go. Feeling accomplished, he says that this is only the beginning. Epilepsy is real and it can be managed. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.